The giant alien ship moved through space like a dark shadow. It was bigger than most space stations and covered in strange metal that seemed to eat light. Inside the ship, Commander Veltar stood looking at the small blue planet ahead of them. "Sir, we are close to the target world," said his assistant, a thin alien with 4 arms. "The humans call it Earth." Veltar made a sound that was like a laugh but colder. Humans. What a strange name for such a weak race. He had read all the reports about these creatures. They fought each other over everything. They made loud music and watched moving pictures for fun. They seemed to spend more time playing games than building weapons. "Should we send the fear message now, sir?" asked the assistant. "Not yet," Veltar said. "Let me see one of these humans first. I want to understand what we are dealing with." The Zephyrian Empire had taken over 43 worlds using the same simple plan. First, they would find a small ship from the new world. They would capture it and scare the people inside. Then they would send a message to the planet saying give up or die. It worked every time. Most races would surrender in less than 1 day. Veltar expected humans to be the same, maybe even easier to beat. "Sir, we found a human ship," the assistant said. "It is small, only 1 human inside. Perfect, bring it in." The human ship was tiny compared to the Zephyrian vessel. It looked like it was built to dig up rocks in space, not fight wars. The human inside would probably cry with fear when he saw them. Minutes later, Veltar stood in front of the captured human. The man was average height with brown hair and calm blue eyes. He wore a simple work uniform and did not look scared at all. "I am Commander Veltar of the Zephyrian Empire," Veltar said in his most frightening voice. "You are now my prisoner." The human looked at him with interest. "Hi there, I'm Jake Morrison. Nice to meet you." Jake held out his hand like he wanted to shake hands. "Are you folks lost? This is a pretty empty part of space." Veltar stared at the extended hand. In 43 conquests, no one had ever tried to shake his hand. You are not afraid." "Should I be?" Jake asked. He looked around the alien ship with curiosity. "This is pretty cool. How fast does this thing go? And what's that blue light over there?" "I am your enemy," Veltar said. "Louder? I have come to conquer your world." Jake nodded slowly. "Well, that sounds like a pretty big job. You might want to talk to someone more important than me. I just dig up rocks in space." He smiled. "Want some coffee? I always carry extra." The assistant with 4 arms whispered to Veltar, "Sir, is this normal human behavior?" Veltar did not. No, in every other conquest, the first captured being would beg for mercy or try to fight. They would cry or scream or offer him treasure. Jake Morrison was offering him coffee. "Tell me about your world's defenses," Veltar demanded. "Oh, I don't know much about that stuff," Jake said. "I work for Morrison Mining Company. We dig up asteroids and stuff. Defense isn't really my thing." He thought for a moment. "But if you want to talk about taking over Earth, you should probably call Admiral Lisa Carter. She handles the important military stuff. You will give me her communication codes." "Sure," Jake said easily. "Her office number is public anyway. Everyone knows how to call Earth Defense Command." He gave Veltar the codes without any hesitation. Veltar felt confused. "You are helping your enemy. Well, you seem like reasonable folks," Jake said. "And if you really want to take over Earth, you should talk to the right people. I'm just a rock miner. What do I know about invasions and stuff?" The alien commander had read about human emotions in the reports. Fear, anger, sadness, all the normal feelings that made conquest easy. But Jake Morrison did not show any of these emotions. He acted like meeting aliens was just another normal day. "Are all humans like you?" Veltar asked. "Pretty much," Jake said. "We're just regular people trying to get by. Though I guess some folks might be more excited to meet aliens than others. My neighbor Bob would probably want to show you his car collection." Veltar turned to his assistant. Run a scan on the human. Check for hidden weapons or drugs that might explain this behavior. The scan showed that Jake was completely normal. No weapons, no drugs, no hidden technology. He was exactly what he appeared to be, a simple working man who dug up rocks in space. Sir, the assistant said quietly, perhaps this human is not very smart. But Veltar could see intelligence in Jake's eyes. The man was asking smart questions about their ship and technology. He was not stupid. He was just not afraid. Human Jake Morrison, Veltar said, do you understand that I could kill you right now? I suppose you could, Jake said thoughtfully. But that seems kind of wasteful. I mean, you went to all the trouble of capturing me alive, and I still haven't offered you that coffee. Jake pulled out a small device and pressed some buttons. Steam came out of it, and soon he was holding 2 cups of hot, dark liquid. Here you go. It's Earth coffee. Pretty good stuff. Veltar took the cup without thinking. The liquid was hot and had a bitter but pleasant taste. This is ... good. Thanks. I make it strong because space work is tiring. Jake sat down on a box, like he was in his own ship. So, Commander Veltar, what's your world like? I've never met aliens before. For the next hour, Veltar found himself talking to Jake about Zephyrian culture, space travel, and the weather on different planets. Jake asked good questions and seemed genuinely interested in learning about alien life. When the conversation ended, Veltar realized he had learned nothing useful about human defenses. But more importantly, he had never met anyone who treated meeting aliens like meeting a new neighbor. Take him back to his ship, Veltar ordered. Tell him he is free. To go, sir? The assistant asked. Should we not keep him as a hostage? No, let him go. I need to think about this. As Jake's ship flew away, the human sent a message. Thanks for the chat, Commander. Good luck with your invasion plans. And remember to call Admiral Carter. Veltar stood in his command room feeling something he had never felt before during a conquest. He felt uncertain. Jake Morrison had not acted like any conquered being should act. The human had been polite, curious, and helpful. He had offered coffee to his captor and wished him good luck with invading Earth. Sir, should we proceed with the invasion? Asked the assistant. Veltar looked at the small blue planet ahead of them. If all humans were like Jake Morrison, this conquest might be very different from the others. Send the surrender message to this Admiral Carter, he ordered, but prepare our ships for battle. I have a feeling these humans are going to surprise us. Admiral Lisa Carter sat in her office reading the morning reports when her communication device started beeping. The message was coming from deep space, and the signal was unlike anything Earth had ever received before. Admiral, you need to see this, said her assistant, Lieutenant Danny Walsh. It's from those alien ships, Jake Morrison reported. Lisa put down her coffee and activated the main screen. A tall, gray alien with dark eyes appeared on the display. He wore what looked like a military uniform covered in strange symbols. I am Commander Veltar, of the Zephyrian Empire, the alien said in perfect English. I speak to the leader of your military forces. I'm Admiral Carter, Earth Defense Command, Lisa replied calmly. What can I do for you, Commander? Veltar seemed surprised by her calm tone. Admiral Carter, I am here to demand the immediate surrender of your planet. The Zephyrian Empire now claims this solar system. You have 24 Earth hours to accept our rule. Lisa nodded and made some notes on her tablet. I see. And what happens if we decline your offer? Decline, Veltar repeated. You cannot decline. We have superior technology and a fleet of warships. Your planet will be destroyed if you resist. Well, that would be unfortunate, Lisa said. But I'm afraid I can't accept surrender terms without discussing them with our government first. Would you be interested in a diplomatic meeting? The alien commander stared at her through the screen. You, want to negotiate? Of course. That's how these things usually work, isn't it? Lisa smiled. Why don't you come aboard our space station Unity? We can discuss this properly. Veltar was quiet for a long moment. You are not afraid of our superior weapons. I'm sure you have impressive technology, Lisa said. But fear isn't very useful in diplomatic situations. Besides, humanity has dealt with difficult negotiations before. This is not a negotiation, Veltar said, his voice getting louder. This is conquest. I understand that's your perspective, Lisa replied patiently. But from our point of view, you've opened communications and offered terms. That sounds like the beginning of negotiations to me. After the transmission ended, Lisa called her senior staff to a meeting. She gathered Dr. Amanda Ross, the head xenobiologist, and Colonel Ben Hayes, her chief military strategist. So we're dealing with aliens who want to conquer Earth, Lisa told them. They seem confused that we're not immediately surrendering. Dr. Ross adjusted her glasses. That's actually very interesting from a psychological standpoint. If their conquest method relies on fear and intimidation, our calm response might be disrupting their entire strategy. Colonel Hayes looked at the tactical reports. Their ships are definitely more advanced than ours, but they only brought one fleet. If they were serious about total conquest, they would have brought more ships. Maybe they don't think they need more, Lisa said. Jake Morrison said their commander seemed surprised by normal human behavior. They might not understand how humans react to threats. 3 hours later, Commander Veltar arrived at Unity Station with a small group of Zephyrian officers. Lisa met them in the main conference room, along with Dr. Ross and Colonel Hayes. The aliens were tall and thin, with gray skin and large dark eyes. They moved carefully and kept looking around like they expected an attack. Lisa noticed they seemed nervous. Welcome to Unity Station, Lisa said. Please, have a seat. Can we offer you anything? Water? Coffee? Tea? Veltar sat down slowly. Your human Jake Morrison also offered me coffee. Is this a custom? Just politeness, Lisa said. When guests visit, we try to make them comfortable. We are not guests, one of the other aliens said sharply. We are conquerors. Of course, Lisa agreed. But you're still visitors to our station. Basic hospitality applies regardless of the circumstances. Dr. Ross leaned forward with interest. Commander Veltar, could you tell us about your empire? We're very curious about other intelligent species. You want to learn about us? Veltar asked. Naturally. This is humanity's first contact with aliens. It's a historic moment. Dr. Ross pulled out a recording device. Would you mind if I record this for our archives? Veltar looked confused. You want to record your own conquest? We want to record our first meeting with aliens, Dr. Ross corrected. Whatever happens afterward, this moment is important for human history. Colonel Hayes opened a folder full of papers. Commander, could you explain your conquest process? From a military standpoint, I'm curious about your tactics. Our tactics, Veltar repeated. Yes. How do you usually take over planets? Do you target military installations first, or do you prefer to attack civilian areas to break morale? The alien commander stared at Colonel Hayes. Why do you want to know our tactics? Professional interest, Hayes said simply. I've studied military history my whole career. Your empire has conquered many worlds, so you must have effective strategies. For the next 2 hours, the humans asked questions about Zephyrian culture, technology, and military methods. They took notes and asked for clarification on various points. They treated the meeting like an academic conference instead of a surrender. Negotiation. Veltar found himself answering their questions. The humans were genuinely interested in learning about his people. Dr. Ross asked about Zephyrian biology and evolution. Colonel Hayes wanted to understand their military structure. Admiral Carter asked about their government and economy. You are very strange, Veltar finally said. Other species beg for mercy or offer us treasure. You ask us questions. Well, we've never met aliens before, Lisa said. This is a learning opportunity, but we are here to conquer you. Yes, you mentioned that, Lisa said. But we're still not surrendering. So in the meantime, we might as well have an interesting conversation. Veltar stood up suddenly. This is not how conquest works. You should be afraid. Why? Dr. Ross asked curiously. Fear would just make us think less clearly. That doesn't seem helpful. Fear makes species surrender quickly, Veltar said. Has that always worked for you? Colonel Hayes asked, making notes. Yes, every time. Interesting, Hayes said. But humans don't really work that way. We tend to get more stubborn when people try to scare us. Admiral Carter nodded. It's true. Human history is full of examples where threats just made us more determined to resist. Veltar looked at his officers. They seemed as confused as he was. You will not surrender, even facing superior force. Not without a fight, Lisa said cheerfully. It's nothing personal. We just don't like being told what to do. Then we will demonstrate our power, Veltar declared. You will see that resistance is useless. That's certainly your right, Lisa said. But before you go, would you like to see our mining operations? Jake Morrison mentioned you were interested in our asteroid processing techniques. The meeting ended with handshakes and exchanged contact information. The aliens left looking more confused than when they arrived. That was educational, Dr. Ross said after they were gone. They really don't understand humans at all, Colonel Hayes agreed. Their whole strategy depends on fear, but they've never dealt with a species that doesn't scare easily. Admiral Carter looked out the window at the alien ships in the distance. They're going to try to frighten us with a show of force. When that doesn't work, things are going to get interesting. Should we evacuate civilian areas? Hayes asked. Not yet. Let's see what they do first. Lisa smiled. Besides, I have a feeling our people are going to surprise these aliens even more than they expect. 2 hours later, the Zephyrian fleet moved to a position near a large asteroid. Their weapons charged up and fired, completely destroying the rock in a massive explosion. Lisa's communication device activated. Commander Veltar appeared on the screen again. Admiral Carter, you have seen our power. Will you surrender now? Lisa looked at the display, showing the destroyed asteroid. That was very impressive, Commander. Your weapons are quite advanced. Then you surrender. No, but thank you for the demonstration. Lisa paused. Actually, would you like to see how humans handle asteroid mining? Jake Morrison is working on a similar rock nearby. Veltar's expression was unreadable. You want to show me human mining techniques? Sure. It might be interesting to compare methods. 20 minutes later, Jake Morrison's small ship approached an asteroid twice the size of the one the aliens had destroyed. Using precise cutting tools and controlled explosions, Jake systematically broke the asteroid into perfectly sized chunks. Impressive, Veltar admitted. Jake's one of our best miners, Lisa said proudly. Would you like to meet our other specialists while you're here? Commander Veltar was getting angry. The humans were not behaving like any species he had conquered before. Every show of force was met with polite interest. Every threat was answered with calm questions. It was time to use real force. Attack the human outpost on their 4th planet, he ordered his fleet. Destroy their mining station there. That will show them we are serious. The Zephyrian ships moved toward Mars, where humans had built a large mining complex. Veltar expected the attack to finally break human spirit. When people saw their friends and family in danger, they always surrendered quickly. The Mars mining station was run by engineer Kelly Brooks, a woman with red hair and quick hands. She had worked on Mars for 3 years and knew every part of the station like her own home. When the alien ships appeared on her scanners, Kelly activated the emergency alert system. Attention all personnel, we have unknown vessels approaching. This is not a drill. Begin evacuation procedures immediately. The station's workers moved quickly, but without panic. They had practiced emergency evacuations many times. Kelly watched from the control room as transport ships carried her people to safety. "Kelly, this is Admiral Carter," came a voice on the radio. "What's your status?" "We're evacuating now, Admiral," Kelly replied, while typing commands into her computer. "Should be clear in 20 minutes. "Good. Are you planning to destroy the station?" Kelly smiled. "No, ma'am. I have a better idea." The alien ships surrounded the mining station as the last human transport flew away. Veltar expected to find the facility rigged with explosives or stripped of useful equipment. Instead, he found something completely unexpected. The station was still running normally. All the equipment was working perfectly. The computers were still on, and there were lights in every window. On the main communication screen, a message was playing on repeat. "Welcome to Mars, Station 7. Kelly's recorded voice said cheerfully. "If you're seeing this message, it means we had to leave in a hurry. Please don't break anything important. There's food in the refrigerators and coffee in the break room. The instruction manuals for all equipment are in the main computer. Have a great day." The message included detailed directions to different parts of the station, a list of emergency procedures, and even suggestions for good human music to listen to while working. Veltar stared at the screen. They left us instructions. His science officer was examining the station's equipment. "Sir, this mining technology is quite advanced, and they left everything running for us to study." "It must be a trap," Veltar decided. "Search every room. Look for hidden weapons or explosives." The search found no traps. Instead, they found a fully functioning mining station with detailed notes about how everything worked. Kelly had even left a collection of Earth movies and books in the recreation area. "Sir," one of his officers reported, "there's fresh food in their kitchens and the human called coffee in their break rooms. Should we destroy it?" Veltar was quiet for a long moment. "No, leave it alone." The next attack targeted a supply convoy traveling between Earth and Jupiter. The human ships were carrying food, medicine, and equipment to the outer colonies. Veltar expected an easy victory against unarmed transport vessels. The convoy was led by Supply Officer Rick Davis, a friendly man who knew every space pilot in the solar system. When the alien ships surrounded his convoy, Rick opened communication channels immediately. "Hello there," Rick said cheerfully. "I'm Rick Davis with Solar Supply Company. Are you folks the aliens Admiral Carter told us about?" "Surrender immediately," Veltar demanded. "Well, I suppose I don't have much choice," Rick said. "You've got us outnumbered. Should I bring my crew over to your ship, or do you want to come aboard here?" Veltar was surprised by the quick surrender. "You will come to our ship as prisoners." "Sure thing. Give me a few minutes to shut down our engines safely. We don't want these supply ships floating around loose in space." Rick and his crew were brought aboard the Zephyrian command ship. Veltar expected them to be frightened and desperate. Instead, Rick immediately started asking questions about the alien ship. "This is amazing technology," Rick said, looking around with genuine interest. "How do you generate power for something this big?" "You are prisoners," Veltar reminded him. "Right. Sorry," Rick said. "It's just really exciting to see alien engineering. My dad was a mechanic, so I've always been interested in how things work." The aliens put Rick and his crew in a holding area, but Rick treated it like a hotel room. He asked about the alien food, tried to learn Zephyrian words, and told stories about his family back on Earth. "Guard," Rick called to one of the aliens. "Is that some kind of fruit you're eating? It looks delicious." The guard was confused. Most prisoners begged for freedom or information about their fate. Rick was asking about snacks. "This is glowing fruit from our home world," the guard said slowly. "Could I try some? I love trying new foods. Back on Earth, I collect recipes from different countries." Rick smiled. "I make a mean apple pie, if you're ever interested." Within 2 days, Rick had convinced half the alien crew to try human food rations. He taught them card games and shared photos of his hometown. The aliens found themselves looking forward to talking with their prisoner. "Sir," one of the guards reported to Veltar, "the human Rick Davis wants to know if we need help fixing our communication system. He says he's good with electronics." Veltar stared at the guard. "Our prisoner wants to help us repair our ship." "Yes, sir. He noticed some static in our internal communications and offered to take a look." This was definitely not normal prisoner behavior. The most confusing battle happened at Jupiter's mining station. Captain Sue Martinez had been expecting the alien attack for days. She had sent all non-essential personnel back to Earth, but she and a crew of volunteers had stayed behind. When the Zephyrian fleet arrived, they found the mining station ready for battle. But Sue Martinez's defense was unlike anything they had ever encountered. "This is Captain Martinez," Sue announced over the radio. "Welcome to Jupiter Station. You picked a fight with the wrong group of miners today." The aliens expected desperate resistance followed by quick surrender. Instead, Sue's small crew started using their mining equipment as weapons. They turned asteroid crushers into giant cannons. They used mining charges as missiles. They even launched chunks of metal or at the alien ships using magnetic launchers. "How are they doing this?" one of Veltar's officers asked as a piece of ore bounced off their ship's shields. "They're using industrial equipment as weapons," Veltar realized. They turned their entire station into a fortress. Sue Martinez kept up a constant stream of cheerful conversation during the battle. "Sorry about the rough welcome, folks. We're not used to entertaining guests out here." She laughed as another improvised weapon fired. "My grandmother always said you should make visitors feel at home." The battle lasted for 6 hours. Sue's tiny crew held off an entire alien fleet using nothing but mining equipment and creative thinking. When they were finally overwhelmed, Sue sent one final message to Earth. "This is Captain Martinez. Tell my mom I'm having quite an adventure out here. And tell Admiral Carter these aliens fight pretty well, but they're not very creative." Veltar stood in his command room looking at the reports from Jupiter Station. The humans had turned a simple mining facility into a military base, using only tools designed for digging up rocks. Sue Martinez had been outnumbered 1,000 to 1, but she had actually damaged several alien ships before being captured. "Sir," his assistant said quietly, "the human prisoners are asking if we need help repairing the damage to our ships." "What?" "Captain Martinez and her crew. They want to help fix the problems they caused. They say they feel bad about the damage." Vel felt a headache forming behind his eyes. The humans had fought desperately against overwhelming odds. They had lost the battle and been captured, and now they wanted to help repair the ships they had just been shooting at. "Put Captain Martinez in the same holding area as Rick Davis," Veltar ordered. "Maybe they can explain human behavior to each other." "Sir, should we continue attacking human outposts?" Veltar looked at the tactical display showing the solar system. Every attack had resulted in the same pattern. The humans would resist cleverly, lose gracefully, and then try to help their captors. They treated war like an interesting problem to solve. "Send a message to Admiral Carter," Veltar decided. "Tell her we want another meeting." "What should we tell her, sir?" Veltar thought about Jake Morrison offering coffee, Kelly Brooks leaving instruction manuals, Rick Davis trying to fix their ship, and Sue Martinez apologizing for the damage she had caused while defending her station. "Tell her we need to understand something about humans," he said finally, "because nothing they do makes any sense." Admiral Carter's reply came back quickly. "Of course, Commander. We'd be happy to explain. Humans love talking about themselves. Should we meet at Unity Station?" Again, Veltar realized that after 3 victories against human forces, he felt more confused than ever. Every conquered human acted like making friends was more important than being defeated. "Yes," he replied. "And Admiral Carter. Could you bring that coffee Jake Morrison mentioned? I think I'm going to need it. Dr. Amanda Ross sat across from Commander Veltar in the meeting room aboard his ship. She had asked to visit the Zephyrian vessel to study alien technology, and surprisingly, Veltar had agreed. Now she was trying to explain human psychology to increasingly confused aliens. Let me understand this correctly, Veltar said slowly. Humans evolved by chasing animals until the animals died from exhaustion. That's a simplified version, but yes, Dr. Ross replied, making notes on her tablet. Early humans were persistence hunters. We weren't the fastest or strongest predators, but we could keep going longer than almost anything else. And this affects human behavior today. Absolutely. We're naturally built to handle long-term stress and keep working toward goals even when things look impossible. Dr. Ross smiled. It's probably why your intimidation tactics aren't working. Humans see obstacles as challenges to overcome, not reasons to give up. Veltar's science officer leaned forward. Dr. Ross, we have studied 43 species before yours. All of them showed predictable fear responses to overwhelming force. Humans show no such responses. Well, we do get scared, Dr. Ross said thoughtfully. But fear makes us more careful and creative, not less. When humans are threatened, we start looking for solutions. Solutions to impossible problems, especially impossible problems. Those are the most interesting ones. Dr. Ross pulled up some data on her tablet. Commander, could you tell me about the other species you've conquered? I'm curious about their psychological profiles. For the next several hours, Veltar found himself describing every conquest in the Zephyrian Empire's history. Dr. Ross asked detailed questions about each species' surrender process, their social structures, and their responses to threats. Fascinating, Dr. Ross said after listening to dozens of conquest stories. Every species you've defeated followed the same pattern. Initial resistance, growing desperation, eventual surrender. But humans don't fit that pattern at all. No, they do not, Veltar agreed. Your people seem to become more determined when facing impossible odds. That's because impossible odds are where humans do their best work, Dr. Ross explained. Throughout our history, our greatest achievements came when we had no choice but to find new solutions. Veltar's communication officer interrupted the conversation. Sir, we're receiving human transmissions from their planet. Should we monitor them? Yes, Veltar said. I want to understand how their population is reacting to our invasion. The alien monitoring systems intercepted thousands of human communications. News broadcasts, personal messages, government meetings, and casual conversations between friends. Veltar expected to find panic, despair, and calls for surrender. Instead, he found something completely different. This is Channel 7 News, with Linda Park, came one broadcast. Today marks the 5th day of the alien invasion, and Earth's response continues to surprise military experts. Instead of mass panic, we're seeing unprecedented cooperation between nations and creative solutions to the invasion threat. The news showed footage of humans working together across the planet. Factories were converting to produce new technologies. Scientists were sharing research freely. Military forces from different countries were coordinating their efforts. In other news, the reporter continued, 12-year-old genius Amy Chen has successfully decoded part of the alien communication system. Amy says she got interested in the problem after hearing the aliens on the radio and wanted to understand what they were saying. Veltar stared at the screen. A human child is breaking our communication codes. It appears so, sir. His communication officer said nervously. Another transmission showed an interview with Tony Lopez, a mechanic from Texas. Yeah, we're converting civilian vehicles for military use, Tony said cheerfully. It's actually pretty fun, like a big engineering puzzle. My team figured out how to turn garbage trucks into mobile weapons platforms. A teacher named Nancy White was organizing evacuation procedures while maintaining normal school schedules. The children need routine during stressful times, she explained. So we're teaching regular lessons in the morning and invasion preparedness. In the afternoon, the kids are really excited about learning alien languages. Veltar listened to transmission after transmission. Every human seemed to be treating the invasion as an interesting challenge rather than a terrible crisis. They were studying alien technology, developing countermeasures, and working together in ways they never had before. Sir, his science officer said quietly, we're detecting unusual activity in their industrial areas. It appears humans are rapidly modifying their manufacturing capabilities to build weapons. Unknown. But the modifications are happening very quickly and in coordinated patterns across their entire planet. Dr. Ross was watching the transmissions with great interest. This is exactly what I would expect from humans under pressure. We're a cooperative species when facing external threats. But how can they work so efficiently? Veltar asked. Your planet was divided into competing nations before we arrived. External threats have a way of making humans forget their smaller disagreements, Dr. Ross explained. When survival is at stake, we're very good at working together. Chief Engineer Paul Anderson appeared on another transmission. He was standing next to pieces of wreckage from destroyed alien ships. We've learned a lot from studying this technology, Paul said to a group of scientists. Their power systems are more advanced than ours, but they're not incomprehensible. Give me another week, and I think we can build working countermeasures. Veltar felt something he had never experienced during a conquest. He felt worried. Dr. Ross, he said slowly, are all humans like the ones we have captured? Jake Morrison, Rick Davis, Sue Martinez. Yes, they're pretty typical. Friendly, curious, stubborn when threatened, and always looking for ways to solve problems. And your Admiral Carter. Lisa is one of our best military leaders. Smart.com under pressure, and very good at turning disadvantages into advantages. Veltar was beginning to understand something disturbing. The humans he had met were not special cases. They were normal examples of their species. If every human responded to conquest the way these few individuals had, then the Zephyrian Empire was facing something it had never encountered before. Commander, Dr. Ross said gently, can I ask you something? In all your previous conquests, did any species ever study your technology while you were attacking them? No. They were too frightened to think clearly. Did any of them adapt their tactics during battle? No. They used the same failed strategies until they surrendered. Did any of them treat captured Zephyrians as guests rather than enemies? Veltar was quiet for a long moment. No, Dr. Ross. Are you suggesting that humans are fundamentally different from other species? Not fundamentally different, but humans have some unusual characteristics. We're very adaptable. We don't give up easily, and we tend to view problems as puzzles to solve, rather than disasters to endure. A new transmission caught their attention. It was Admiral Carter giving a press conference on Earth. The alien invasion has certainly been challenging, Carter said calmly, but it's also been educational. We've learned a great deal about advanced technology and made contact with our first alien species. While we obviously can't accept their conquest demands, we hope this situation can be resolved Admiral Carter, a reporter asked. Are you confident that Earth can resist the alien forces? Carter smiled. I'm confident that humans will do what humans always do when faced with difficult situations. We'll find a way to deal with it, even against superior alien technology. Superior technology just means we need to be more creative. Humans are very good at being creative when we need to be. Veltar turned off the transmission. Dr. Ross, I need to ask you a direct question. Can humans be conquered? Dr. Ross thought carefully before answering. Theoretically, any species can be defeated if the force applied is overwhelming enough. But conquering humans and keeping them conquered are two different things. Explain. Even if you destroyed our military forces and occupied our planet, Humans would keep working on the problem of getting rid of you. We don't really accept permanent defeat. We just see it as a temporary setback while we figure out a solution. For how long? Generations, if necessary. Humans are very patient when working toward long-term goals. Veltar felt his headache getting worse. Dr. Ross, I think I am beginning to understand why your species is so unusual. Oh, what conclusion? Have you reached? Other species fight until they lose, then they accept defeat. Humans fight until they win, regardless of how long it takes. Dr. Ross smiled. That's a pretty good summary of human nature, Commander. Veltar looked at the tactical displays showing the human solar system. Earth was still there, still defiant, still working on solutions to the invasion. Every attack had only made the humans more determined and more cooperative. Dr. Ross, what would happen if the Zephyrian Empire withdrew from your solar system? We'd probably be disappointed. This has been humanity's first contact with aliens. Most humans are finding it very exciting, despite the whole invasion aspect. You would be disappointed if we stopped trying to conquer you. Well, we'd prefer if you stayed and became friends instead. But yes, it would be a shame to lose contact with the first alien species we've ever met. Veltar realized that humans had managed to make him feel guilty about invading them. This was definitely not how conquests were supposed to work. Commander, Veltar made his final decision. If the humans would not surrender, he would have to destroy their home world. It was not something he wanted to do, but the Zephyrian Empire could not allow a species to resist conquest. It would set a bad example for other worlds. Prepare the fleet for full assault on Earth, he ordered. All ships will target population centers. We will show the galaxy what happens to species that refuse our rule. His officers looked uncomfortable. Over the past weeks, many of them had spoken with human prisoners. It was hard to think of Rick Davis, Sue Martinez, and the others as enemies who needed to be destroyed. Sir, his science officer said quietly, perhaps we should try one more diplomatic meeting first. No, Veltar said firmly. We have spent too much time talking with these humans. It is time to finish this conquest. The Zephyrian fleet moved toward Earth in attack formation. Every ship charged its weapons and prepared for battle. This would be the largest military action in the Empire's history. But as they approached the small blue planet, Veltar realized that Earth was ready for them. The planet was surrounded by a defense network unlike anything the Zephyrians had ever seen. Human ships filled the space around Earth, but they were not the crude vessels the aliens had encountered before. These ships were built using captured Zephyrian technology, combined with human engineering. Sir, his tactical officer reported, the humans have constructed approximately 2,000 defensive vessels. The designs appear to be based on our own technology. How is that possible? Unknown, sir, but the energy signatures match our power systems. Admiral Lisa Carter's voice came over the communication system. Welcome back, Commander Veltar. I see you brought your whole fleet this time. Admiral Carter, you cannot defeat us. We still have superior numbers and technology. You're probably right about the numbers, Lisa agreed. But I'm not sure about the technology advantage anymore. We've learned quite a bit from the ship parts you left behind. Chief Engineer Paul Anderson appeared on screen next to Admiral Carter. Thanks for all the samples, Commander. Your power systems are really elegant. We've made some improvements to the basic design. Veltar stared at the human engineer. You improved our technology. Well, we adapted it for human use. Your ships are built for Zephyrian biology, but humans need different things. So we made some changes. Paul smiled, one to see. The human ships began moving in coordinated patterns that seemed impossible. They accelerated faster than Zephyrian vessels and changed direction in ways that should have been deadly to their crews. How are they doing that? Veltar's tactical officer asked. The humans must have solved the inertial compensation problem that has limited our own ships, the science officer realized. Their crews can survive maneuvers that would kill us. Sir, incoming transmission from the surface, the communication officer reported. Jake Morrison appeared on screen, but he was not in his mining ship anymore. He was wearing a military uniform and standing in what looked like a command center. "Hi, Commander Veltar," Jake said cheerfully. "Hope you don't mind, but they promoted me to captain. Turns out knowing how to operate in space is pretty useful during a war." "Jake Morrison," Veltar said slowly. "You were a simple miner. Still am, in a way. But now I'm mining information from alien technology instead of rocks from asteroids." Jake grinned. "It's actually more fun." More human faces appeared on screen. Kelly Brooks was now a military engineer. Rick Davis had become a diplomatic liaison. Sue Martinez was commanding a battle squadron. Dr. Ross was leading a team of scientists studying alien technology. "You see, Commander," Admiral Carter explained, "humans are very adaptable. When you invaded our system, you gave us a new challenge to solve, and humans love solving challenges." The battle began, but it was nothing like the conquests Veltar had led before. The human ships fought with tactics that made no sense, according to Zephyrian military theory. They took risks that should have been suicidal, but somehow worked. Captain Sue Martinez led a squadron that used asteroid mining charges as weapons. The explosives were crude compared to Zephyrian missiles, but Martinez used them in ways that confused the alien targeting systems. Captain Jake Morrison commanded ships that moved like mining vessels, appearing to be easy targets, until they suddenly revealed hidden weapons and advanced maneuvering systems. Engineer Kelly Brooks had designed mobile defense platforms that looked like construction equipment but fought like military installations. "Sir, we're taking significant damage," Veltar's tactical officer reported. "The human weapons are less advanced than ours, but their tactics are completely unpredictable. How can inferior technology be defeating us?" "They're not using superior technology, sir. They're using familiar technology in unfamiliar ways." The strangest part of the battle was the human communication chatter. Instead of the desperate calls for help that Veltar expected, the humans sounded like they were having fun. "Jake, try the spinning move on that big ship," Sue Martinez called over the radio. "Already tried it, Sue." "These aliens learn pretty fast," Jake replied. "Kelly, can you send some of those mining platforms to Sector 7? "On their way," Kelly responded. "Rick, how are our diplomatic efforts going?" Rick Davis's voice came from somewhere on Earth. "I'm still talking to some of the Zephyrian prisoners. They're starting to understand human psychology better." Admiral Carter's voice cut through the chatter. "All units, remember that our goal is to defend Earth, not destroy the Zephyrian fleet. Use minimum necessary force." Veltar was confused. "They're trying not to destroy us." "It appears so, sir. Human weapons are targeting our engines and weapons systems, but avoiding our life support and crew areas." This made no sense to Veltar. In every battle he had fought, both sides tried to cause maximum damage to their enemies. The humans were fighting a defensive war, while trying to minimize casualties on both sides. "Commander Veltar," Admiral Carter called. "We need to talk." "I will not surrender," Veltar replied. "I'm not asking you to surrender, but this battle isn't accomplishing anything useful for either of us." The fighting paused as both fleets held their positions. Veltar looked at his tactical displays. The humans had not won the battle, but they had not lost either. More importantly, they showed no signs of giving up. "What do you propose, Admiral Carter?" "Come aboard Unity Station one more time. Bring your senior officers. Let's figure out how to end this without more people getting hurt." An hour later, Veltar sat in the familiar conference room on Unity Station. But this meeting was different from the others. This time, he was not negotiating from a position of strength. Commander Admiral Carter said gently, "You've seen how humans fight. We're not going to surrender, no matter what you do to us. And we're not going to stop learning from your technology," added Chief Engineer Paul Anderson. Every attack teaches us something new. Dr. Ross opened her tablet and showed Veltar some data. We've been analyzing your conquest patterns, Commander. Every species you've defeated shared certain psychological characteristics. They all had strong fear responses and rigid social structures. Humans have flexible social structures, and we adapt quickly to new situations. Colonel Hayes continued. Your conquest strategy simply doesn't work on species like ours. Veltar looked around the table at the human faces. Jake Morrison was there, still offering coffee to anyone who wanted it. Kelly Brooks was sketching engineering diagrams on a napkin. Rick Davis was talking quietly with one of the Zephyrian officers about cultural differences. What are you saying? Veltar asked. We're saying that humans can't be conquered, Admiral Carter said simply. Not because we're stronger than other species, but because we're different. We don't accept defeat as permanent. You would fight forever, if necessary. But we'd prefer to be friends. Steve Johnson, who had been guarding Zephyrian prisoners, spoke up. Commander, your people aren't so different from humans. When we started talking to them, we found out they like art, music, and good food, just like we do. The invasion has actually been good for humanity in some ways, Dr. Ross added. It brought our planet together and made us focus on our best qualities: cooperation, creativity, and determination. Veltar was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. Dr. Ross, if the Zephyrian Empire withdrew from your solar system and offered diplomatic relations instead of conquest, how would humans respond? We'd be thrilled, Lisa Carter said immediately. This has been humanity's first contact with aliens. We've learned so much from you already. Think how much more we could learn as friends, instead of enemies. And humans would not seek revenge for our attacks. Why would we want revenge? Jake Morrison asked. You gave us the most exciting challenge our species has ever faced. We should probably thank you. Veltar realized that he had finally found the answer to the question that had been bothering him for weeks. Humans could not be conquered because they refused to stay conquered. They would keep fighting, keep learning, and keep adapting until they found a way to win. But more than that, they were offering friendship to an enemy who had tried to destroy them. Admiral Carter, Veltar said slowly, I believe it is time for the Zephyrian Empire to try a new approach to interstellar relations. What did you have in mind? Diplomatic contact instead of conquest, trade instead of tribute, cooperation instead of domination. Admiral Carter smiled. Commander, I think that's the best idea anyone has had since this whole thing started. 3 months later, Veltar stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, which had become the center of human-Zephyrian cooperation. Human and alien scientists worked together in the laboratories. Engineers from both species designed new technologies. Cultural exchange programs were teaching Zephyrians about human art and humans about Zephyrian philosophy. Jake Morrison walked up carrying 2 cups of coffee. How are you settling in, Commander? Very well, thank you, Jake. Veltar accepted the coffee, which had become a daily tradition. I have been thinking about our first meeting. When you captured my mining ship. Yes, you offered me coffee then, too. Jake grinned. Well, coffee makes everything better. That's what my grandmother always said. Veltar looked out at the space around the station, where human and Zephyrian ships worked together on joint projects. Jake, can I ask you something? When I captured you, did you know that humans would never surrender? Honestly, I wasn't thinking about big picture stuff like that. I was just trying to be polite to some new neighbors. Jake paused thoughtfully. But now that you mention it, surrender never really occurred to me as an option. Humans don't give up on things that matter, and what mattered? Protecting Earth, obviously, but also making friends with you folks. First aliens we'd ever met. That's pretty important. Veltar sipped his coffee and thought about the report he would send to the Zephyrian High Command. It would recommend that the Empire abandon conquest as a strategy and adopt diplomacy instead. Other species might be like humans, unconquerable not because of superior weapons, but because of superior determination. Jake, he said finally, I believe humans have taught the Zephyrian Empire something very important. What's that? That the strongest force in the galaxy is not superior technology or overwhelming numbers. It is a species that simply refuses to give up. Jake raised his coffee cup in a small salute. I'll drink to that, Commander. As they stood together watching the peaceful cooperation between their species, Veltar realized that the moment aliens realized humanity couldn't be stopped was also the moment they realized humanity didn't need to be stopped. Sometimes the best conquest was simply making friends.